Welcome back, listeners. I'm Jay, and if you know a thing or two about me, you know that I really like Harley Quinn. I hate Sean Murphy, but I don't hate him for making me love Harley. And in my last Harley Quinn reading marathon, I did notice something. This being how, in stories that cover her backstory, there's been a change in the way she's portrayed in it in the past few years, but it's been an almost consistent shift. Or in Harley's original backstories, for which I'll be using her original Batman the Animated Series origin, her introduction to comics, and the Suicide Squad films as my basis, she's typically someone manipulated by the Joker into becoming the person she is, and is just as much his victim as his lover. However, in more recent origins, which I'll be pulling from Harley Quinn and the Joker Sound Mind, and the Caped Crusader, she's far more in control of her villainy, and in some of these adaptations, the most recent of them, she doesn't need the Joker at all, and while good for her, it's also an interesting departure from the original. So, what changed? In trying to find the basis of her origin, I started by watching a few episodes of Batman the Animated Series, but I'll be focusing on the classic episode Mad Love, which on Max is episode 24 of season 3. I'll mostly be ignoring the Harley tries to kill Batman aspect of the specific episode that most people like to cover, because we're here to talk about her backstory. Dr. Harleen Quinzel is a young psychiatrist interning at Arkham, who, on her first day there, is left a flower in her office by the Joker. She spends the next 3 months setting up and preparing for a session with him, and in which she does extensive research on him, but she isn't prepared for him to lie to her face and try to gain her sympathy. He spins her a story, tells her some jokes, and in this turns her against Batman as he starts to flip the script on her, having her confide in him. She falls in love with him, and when he's hurt by Batman, who he's built up in her head as a monster, she's heartbroken and feels the need to save him and put on a costume so he won't be so alone anymore. She fell right into his trap. This here is our basis for all future Harley Quinn origins. Just our baseline, typical, original Harley. Not much to say here, it's the original. Our next stop on this side of the coin is Harley's initial introduction in the comics universe, Batman Harley Quinn, which takes place during the larger No Man's Land event. One notable thing that's added here is that Harley is looking to study the Joker, not just for him, but for a chance to write a book about him and the serial killer Mystique. This idea is briefly mentioned in Mad Love, but is said a bit more out loud here. She wants what he can do for her, but she falls in love anyways. Another change is that Harley doesn't just break Joker out the one time and then join him. Instead, she's caught letting him out and is committed to Arkham herself, where she spends the next few months. When the quake hits, she breaks herself out and wanders around Gotham until finding a clue to where the Joker may have gone and running full speed ahead into it. She runs violently into his arms, proves herself to him by putting a gun to the Penguin's head. He realizes it's her, and then she joins him. She sets them up a hideout and then beats up Batman to save Joker from him. Then he shoots her into space and Poison Ivy finds her. #bisexual icon. A lot of other stuff happens that's not too relevant to her discussion. The final thing on my list of original, quote-unquote, Harley origins is a bit further out than the rest of these. While both Mad Love and Batman Harley Quinn came out in the 90s and were written by Paul Dini, this Harley Quinn origin takes us all the way to the much more recent bit of ancient history known as 2016's Suicide Squad, where Harley Quinn is played by the lovely Margot Robbie. In this incarnation of Harley, she falls in love with her patient, but also seems to have experienced some kind of brain damage that made her just fall for the Joker even harder and faster. The silly juice probably didn't help either. We don't see too much of a pre-Harley Quinn Harleen, but in the scenes we do, she seems a lot more normal than after, so it's really hard to figure out too much about her and the switch. But what we do know is that she really does do a lot for the Joker. She's infatuated. All of her biggest dreams involve him. She struggles to stand alone and out of his shadow. This movie was also kind of bad, and I don't want to talk about it for too long. I will not be talking about the Harley Quinn show. It's its own beast entirely. So, now that I've detailed the main players on one side of it, it's about time to cover the other. Okay, so, on this side, we're going to cover 3 more recent Harley Quinn origin stories. Harley Quinn / Joker, Sound Mind, and her origin in Batman, the Caped Crusader. But we'll mostly be focusing on the first 2, since Caped Crusader takes us in a whole different direction. We'll cover how all of this adds up to Caped Crusader in a minute. Harleen is a 2019 Black Label DC book with art and writing by Steven Cedric, I think that's how you say it, don't quote me on that. You know what I'm talking about though. That retells Mad Love. It focuses more on Harley's competence prior to meeting Joker, her cunning, and how she does what she does because she wants to be the one to fix the Joker. She doesn't feel bad for him, but he fascinates and scares her regardless. She goes into that room prepared, She's tired of him until he starts to reveal a little more. Until he starts to play her like a fiddle anyways. She plays with the way she thinks the Joker feels in order to try to fix him, and she only joins him when she feels the need to save him. This is probably our transition into the next part of Harley's backstory shift. It's still mad love. Harley still falls for the Joker's lies, still falls into his trap, but there's still a shift, a new sense of agency. We get a little bit more of this in the next adaptation. This being our only podcast adaptation, Harley Quinn and the Joker, Sound Mind. While Sound Mind is still another classic mad love retelling, there's another layer to it. Here, you can see that Harley is, for a while, using the Joker for her own gain just as much as he's using her. One of the main conflicts in Sound Mind is that Harley's dad is dying, and Harley thinks she can stop it, she just needs money to be able to do it. And when Joker starts to hint that he could rob a bank without a second glance for her, she starts to get a bit of an idea. She leaves behind a trail of a few statements to give into his fantasies and give him what he wants. At the same time, he wants to use her to get out. He treats it as a game. He wants her, and he wants what he can get. He wants what she can give him. Eventually, she helps him escape Arkham by vouching for his sanity and training him on what to say to get approved to leave. All in exchange for getting Harley the money she needs. He gets her the money. Harley fails to save her dad. Harley wants nothing to do with the Joker now that he's done exactly what she wanted him to. She leads him on, and when she gets tired of him falling for it, she cuts the rope and lets him fall. And he doesn't like that he's being thrown away. Harley starts to get ahead in her career to places she wouldn't have thought possible before. It starts to be where she wants to be. And Joker, not happy that Harley didn't play along with him, stages a breakout at Arkham, all targeted to hurt her. He turns her patience against her, and Harley barely makes it out. And because of this, she finally wants to make what she did right. She turns the Joker back into the police to get him out of the way. But he doesn't go away easy. He talks to her. They connect. She starts to maybe get to know past the facade. He starts to plant the idea in her head that the company that ultimately led to her father's death is under Bruce Wayne's control, that it's his fault, that in a way, Bruce killed her dad. And then, what Bruce says when she asks him about it doesn't dissuade her fears, doesn't make things better. She falls further. The Joker was right, the way she sees it. So she breaks him out of Blackgate. She goes against it all for him. But it's still all because of choices she makes herself. She could do fine without the Joker, but she wants him anyway. She loses her marbles. And now, we come to our most recent stop on the progression of Harley's origins, and their continental drift away from the Joker. This being the widely controversial Harley Quinn in the new Batman, the Caped Crusader. Before I say anything, I do want to make it known that I did enjoy this version of her, so don't expect me to complain about it. So far, we don't have an explicit origin story for this Harley. We can use context clues and some basic media literacy to figure out her motivation, but at the same time, we don't know what exactly drove Harley to this point. I'm currently praying that when the Joker appears in Season 2, Harley doesn't suddenly become super dependent on him and his character. First appearing in Episode 3 of Season 1, Harley is a psychiatrist, in particular the psychiatrist assigned to Bruce Wayne, following him punching some guy for reasons. In her job, she seems to be pretty confident in what she does, and pretty good at it for being a psychiatrist in the 1940s. She appears again in Episode 4 to profile Batman for the GCPD on the request of Renee Montoya. She goes on a date with in Episode 5. I don't have a problem with this, actually. Not a ship I would have thought of, but I do love Toxic Yuri. Episode 5 is where we really get the culmination of the Harley plot. However, it's revealed that Harleen, calling herself Harley Quinn, has been essentially torturing billionaires in order to try to get them to donate all of their money. For some reason, this involves crazy costumes and stuff that seems a little bit fetishy, but we're gonna ignore that. She has the upper hand against Batman and seems to know who he is under the mask. This Harley knows exactly what she's doing, and that makes her impressive. That makes her interesting. This is the first Harley we've ever had that doesn't have mad love hanging over her shoulder. This is Harley Quinn for the sake of Harley Quinn. This isn't Harley Quinn for the sake of the Joker, and that's something new. Even with the new design, she's still a jester, but she's not exactly the Harley that we know anymore. As opposed to the red and black suit with the wimpy ruff, we have her in green and yellow with a much more pronounced color. The green, which is one of the main colors, is directly, complementary to the red. It's on the exact opposite of the color spectrum, which is very interesting in my opinion, because it still kind of goes with it, but it's also very brand new. In her original design, there were diamonds on the side. It was a small but important detail that was her own more than the Joker's. In this new design, it's much more prevalent. The diamond is her own element, and now you really see it. You really see what's hers. For a while now, Harley has built a name of her own. People have enjoyed her character separate from the Joker, and for a while, she's been drifting away from her in origin too, becoming Harley for her own reasons more and more, because she likes doing this, as opposed to her wanting the Joker's love and attention. And now, Harley has, at least in one iteration, entirely separated herself from the Joker, and I personally cannot wait to see where this goes. She doesn't need him anymore. The Joker doesn't have to be a part of her character anymore. She can stand by herself, and I love this. She's standing on her own. She can do more. She can be more than the Joker's ex. Harley Quinn doesn't need the Joker anymore. Or, until next time, listeners.